Welcome to today's lesson on compound interest. What we're going to be learning today is we're going to be dealing with the formula here that's going to help us find compound interest. So that's kind of nice. If you decide to give me $1,000,000, I want to see if I can live off the interest or not. This is all going to depend on the interest rates. So what I would like to do is obviously copy down this formula, and you're probably going to need a scientific calculator that would help out a lot. The first one is the A. This A is going to stand for the amount of the new balance. This is going to include your interest, not only the money you invested, but also in your interest. You got to be careful with that one, if in case they ever ask a question of is how much interest did you make. So you're going to have to do a little subtraction. Next is your principal. Your principal is the amount of money that is invested for us. So, um, like I said, if you got $1,000,000, that's how much you're going to be investing. You definitely want to use the parentheses. This one is going to help us with the 100%. So we're always going to want to include this in our formula. The rate is your interest rate. Now you got to make sure that you convert this to a decimal. So I always tell my students to just divide by 100, or I play that song, move it, where we got to actually move the decimal over twice. K is going to stand for the compound. How many times is compounded per year? If it's quarterly, that's 4. Semi-annually, it's twice. Monthly, it's 12. Sometimes students will get that confused with the number of years and what to put at the bottom, so you're going to have to practice a little bit on this one. The next is we're going to go over is the N. That's going to be a number of years that you're going to have invested. That could even be 2.5 years. You got to be careful if you're doing 8 months, because then you're going to want to convert that into um, also a decimal. And again, you're going to use the K again for the quarterly. What you're going to find out is more times it's compounded, the more you will get. Might be a small amount of money, but it's definitely going to be more. So if you got the same interest rate going in and you have one compounded quarterly and the other one's compounded monthly, I'd go with the compound monthly. It's going to make a little bit more money. So real quick, remember that quarterly is 4 times a year and semi-annually is twice. On your calculator, you might even have a caret symbol or a Y. Okay, on your calculator, you're going to have the caret symbol. That's going to help us raise to a power, or the y to the x. So if you're going to be doing 5 to the third power, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go 5, that little caret, and the 3. Or in your calculator, you're going to want to do 5 y to the x 3. Either way, you should get an answer of 125. Okay, the example that I'd like you to copy down is this one right here. We're taking $1,000 at 3.9% interest for 5 years. Obviously, the longer you keep it in there, the more money you're going to get. So what I like to do is I like to write down the formula. And then, if you're anxious and you want to get a step ahead of me, these are some of the answers that you might get. So just to kind of give you an idea. I'm going to go ahead with it. So I write down my formula and I plug everything in there. So if you can notice down here at the bottom right here, is I've already converted the rate into a decimal, put the 4 since it's quarterly, and I did the 5 and the 4. Now, a common mistake that you might make is the first time you do this is you might raise it to the 5th power and then multiply it by 4. What that will do is that will not give you the correct answer. So it's sometimes nice to have the answer even before you start the problem by checking the back of the book, looking at teacher's edition, using a calculator. There's on the web, there's also a lot of these things that can actually calculate for you. It depends, some of you might have a calculator that you can punch everything in there. I would suggest that you convert this 5 times 4 to the 20. This is what I did, and I actually did a step ahead of right here. I did the 39,000 divided by 4. A lot of your calculators, you won't even have to do that. You should get this coming up on your calculator, and what that's going to come out is $1,214.16. So you basically made $214.16 for just keeping that money in the bank account. So definitely want to check the interest rates between the banks and find out which is best for you. What you could also do is, if you need a little bit more practice, is try these couple examples. 20,000 at 0.6%. Now notice its interest rates are not so good recently, so maybe by the time that you're listening to this recording, maybe they've gone up. But this is compounded monthly, so you want to think about that. Here are some of your possible answers. Might want to hit pause because I'm about to show you the correct answer on this one. And this is going to be the correct answer. It is $20,608.94. Another one that we try right here is just 20,000. And then this time we have just a slightly better interest rate of 1 7/10%, and it's also compounded monthly. So if you look at the answers on this one, it should be better. Okay, and this is your answer that you should get. Now the cool thing that you can also do is with your spreadsheets is you can actually calculate this. What I've done is if you can see up here is the formula that I've used, and I've got all these calculated. So if you've got maybe $1,000, it's going to take you 70 years for your money to double. If you can get a nice interest rate of 5%, your money's going to double in, I believe, 14 years. If you're trying to give me maybe $1 million every year, this is how much interest I'm going to get. So maybe if you do a 6-month CD right here, and I've got an interest rate of 3 9/10%, I'm going to be making $39,000 that year. So if I just want to keep $1 million in my bank account, then that's what a possibility is for me to do. And 24 years later, I should double my money. So hopefully this helped. Hopefully you do know that formula. And if you have a scientific calculator, that should help you. Good luck.